Hi, and welcome to another video on Digital Synse. The iPhone, once was Apple's #1 stream of income, is deciding to switch lanes and now will be focusing more on services. Is Apple doomed? Or are they noticing a trend and diversifying the product line due to changing trends? When it's all said and done, will it still be all about the iPhone? Let's discuss. This is Digital Synse. Apple recently announced various services they are planning to roll out over the next year. For some, this seems out of the blue, and not as well planned, especially with how little details the tech giant revealed in their March event. Apple, historically known as a hardware company, is dabbling into the software realm. This segment has had continuous growth and has hit an all-time high of $10 billion, accounting for 16% of Apple's sales. But as you know, this is small pennies compared to revenue created by their hardware side, more specifically, the iPhone. But Apple seems to have a plan to change that. Let's discuss how they got to this point in the first place and where I think Apple, the company, is headed. Since iPhone is the major moneymaker for Apple, we will start there. The original iPhone was announced by Steve Jobs in June 2007, and since then, it has been a massive hit for the company in popularity and their bottom line. The iPhone revolutionized the cell phone industry. It was years ahead of the competition. Over those years, Apple has had an ever-increasing number in iPhone sales year after year. That was until 2016. This was the year the iPhone 6s and 6s Plus and the iPhone SE was announced. Seeing a possible decline in iPhone sales, the iPhone SE's main purpose was to capture a market that it possibly left behind with the introduction of its bigger handsets at that time. This also introduced higher prices. Even with this implementation in 2016, the lineup still produced less than impressive numbers in relation to the prior year for iPhone sales, and ever since those sales have seemed to be at a state of stagnation. But this is not the case in regards to the iPhone revenue. Each year, revenue has always been an incline, and this is due to ever-growing prices of cellular phones year over year. So even though Apple may be selling less iPhones, it's really not hurting their bottom line overall. Seeing this trend, and probably not wanting to alarm investors, Apple has decided on a very controversial decision in 2018. They decided to no longer report iPhone sales or any of its products in future earnings calls. It was evident that less people were upgrading overall, and the stagnation of the cellular industry was imminent, and it wasn't just iPhones. I believe Apple's intention was to have investors not only focus on the number of products sold, but then focus on the revenue as a whole, even though it was clear that sales were declining. 2019 was not the first time Apple realized that they needed to diversify their product line and focus more on services. It was actually in 2015 when they saw the cellular market starting to level off. Remember, 2016 was the first year they actually saw iPhone sales decline. So it was no surprise in 2015 when they decided to launch Apple Music. And the initial thought of them launching a music streaming service was highly critiqued back then, and statements were made that they would never compete with Spotify. Now let's fast forward today. Apple Music is rated as the most popular music streaming service, but just falling short in number of total paid subscribers to Spotify. This was accomplished by not only making the right moves of acquiring beats and musician deals through iTunes. iTunes, where did that go? Actually, who still uses iTunes over Apple Music? Anyway, I digress. But also having access to anyone that owns an Apple product. Apple Music now has over 56 million subscribers, compared to Spotify's 96 million. That may still seem a little bit far off, but with the possible rumor that Apple may purchase iHeartMedia, which owns iHeartRadio, now if that comes to fruition, that could change the subscriber count very quickly. Kind of makes sense from a marketing perspective. The company already has an I in front of their name, right? What do you think? Since 2015, there has always been rumors that Apple has been trying to get in the video streaming industry, but kept running to roadblocks until now. A lot of the media also feels that Apple has waited too long to capture this market. How are they going to compete with other giants like Netflix that are already established in this arena? But wasn't that the same thing they said about the music streaming services? Apple has one thing that the other companies do not have, and that's a strong following. Over 90 million active iPhone users, actually. This is one of the reasons why Apple Music customers were so easy to capture, was because it came already preloaded on their devices. All they had to do was sign up. Add that to the convenience of the Apple ecosystem. It was a no-brainer for people not to cancel. But in regards to video streaming services, Apple needs to take a slightly different approach. Since 100% of consumers do not consume content only on their mobile devices and done as frequently on their televisions, they need to expand their reach. As a result, Apple is making unprecedented moves by allowing access to the ecosystem to third-party set-top boxes and major TV suppliers. This enables the ability for Apple TV and AirPlay 2 on all TVs. This not only benefits Apple users, but also lures potential Apple customers a chance to peek into the Apple world. But this is only one of the services that Apple plans to provide. Others include Apple Arcade, which would allow you to pay one monthly rate to have access over 100 mobile games that you can play online or offline. Also Apple News, which will give you access to numerous magazines and news articles at one rate. To bring this all together, they will now be introducing what they call Apple Card. This is a rewards card that will focus mainly on Apple Pay payments, but would also provide you a physical card when Apple Pay is not available, in titanium. How cool is that? This card has a number of benefits, which also includes not having any type of fee. But compared to other rewards cards, it seems that its interest rates would not be the lowest compared to its peers. This card looks great for those who make a lot of Apple purchases, but for anyone else, there seems to be better reward cards out there. So yeah, it looks like Apple is adding services to its arsenal to balance out its hardware sales decline. So is this directional shift to Apple services worrisome for Apple as a company? I believe it's not. I actually believe it could be a genius move by Apple with misdirectional advertisement, if that makes any sense. Yes, the new focus on services will be profitable for Apple, and who knows how Apple TV will pan out in the end. But what I do know is that this push will expose a lot of customers that would not otherwise be exposed to the Apple ecosystem. Sure, it's a gamble, but a gamble that has possibilities with major payoffs. This glimpse into Apple's walled garden opens the opportunity for many more customers, not only in the services arena, but also in the physical sales. It's a new circle of life for Apple to increase sales overall. So what are your thoughts? Do you think Apple is doing this as another revenue stream, or do you think it's part of a bigger plan to increase product sales also? Mr. Tim Apple is always wearing that CFO hat, even as a CEO. One thing that is evident is that no matter how critiqued Apple is as an innovative company under Mr. Cook, they have never been more financially sound with him at the helm. So, what are your thoughts about all this? I look forward to discussing with you down in the comment section below. Well, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, hit that like and subscribe button. Also, hit that bell icon so you never miss another video. But until next time, this is Digital Synse. Subscribe below for videos like this and more. Peace.